Hello again everybody, and welcome to the English Teacher's Guide to Achieving A star for the advice the actor response question. If you follow the information I give you today, then as long as you remember the play as well as you should have no problem achieving A star. Firstly though, let's remind ourselves of the question paper this question will come up on. Now it doesn't always appear, however it's always better to be well revised and prepared. This will appear on either the Unit 2A or the 2B exam papers, and that obviously covers text such as Othello, Much Ado About Nothing, The Inspector Calls, which is the example we're going to use today, Hobson's Choice, Taste of Honey, or on a 2B paper, Blood Brothers, View from a Bridge, Be My Baby, or My Mother Said I Never Should. Okay, let's have a look at what the questions tend to look like. So give advice to an actor playing the character Sheila, or actress in this case. Okay, so before we start to go through what I believe you should do to achieve A star, let's think about it for ourselves first. So firstly, what do you need to do within an advice to actor question or to achieve full marks? So what kind of things is the exam board looking for you to show them? Secondly, what methods, so what techniques should you use to answer this properly? Now I recommend that you pause this video briefly, only take a moment or two to note down or to discuss the answer to those two questions, because if you're looking at this near exam time, then hopefully you know the answer to this already. Okay, well this is the mark scheme. So just like any traditional essay question, so we could have asked a question such as how has the character Sheila been presented, you still need to demonstrate these skills, these assessment objective skills. AO1 is your ability to write properly, and it's essentially asking you to include relevant detail, so you're still going to be expected to use quotations. You need to be expected to evaluate at the highest level, showing that you can look at minute detail but at the same time link that to the whole text. Then moving across to AO2, you need to make sure you're able to analyse language, form and structure. And obviously those of you looking to achieve A star won't make those regular humdrum points. You're going to say something, write something which will be different, which will make you stand out. And AO4 as well, this is social historical context, and obviously with the strengthening of the GCSE next year, you need to make sure, as well as working on your spelling, punctuation and grammar, you need to make sure you include terminology from now on if you haven't done so already. You need to make sure that you look at context and how context influences the way a text has been written. Okay, let's go back to the question now. So give advice to an actress playing the character Sheila. So that's what the exam board are looking for, but what's the method we can use to answer this and achieve A star? Well, two things. It's always planning and the writing, and the planning is always key. If you fail to plan, you're going to fail, in my opinion. The better planned you are, the easier the writing will be. You're able to just sit down and confidently go from introduction to conclusion without thinking about, well, what my quote's going to be, what can I say here? So you need to practice revised planning in around the 10 minutes that you should do to give you the half an hour to answer. Now, what you need to do with an advice to actor question is you're not necessarily a director. You need to think about this as if it's a character analysis. So what you should do is, again, pick 3 to 5 key areas where the character appears. Obviously you want something from when they first appear, and the last point you want to be from when their last point in the play. Then you need to note down how you feel the character is presented, but note down why the character is presented in that way as well. Again, for those key areas you need to get your quotes, because you need to talk about, as advice to an actor, how you would suggest an actor could or should play those lines physically and verbally. And the writing. What you need to do, as I've said before, is you need to consider this like a character essay question rather than just a director giving advice. Work your way through the points that you have made, highlighting again how the character feels or is presented at that point that you're talking about. But again, you should also explain why they feel that way. Once you've done that, you should then suggest, with that information in mind, how the actor should play that role. Now, the better your information, the better the analysis of the character at that stage, the more likely you are to get A star for this question. Obviously you should then use that background information to inform our actor as we've suggested. So our planning stage, here it is. There's my 5 that I'm going to use for Sheila. Obviously she first appears in Act 1 during the dinner scene. Then I'm going to move on to the interview. Gerald's interview and her reaction is obviously, for me, I feel important because it shows the disintegration of her relationship and her coming of age as such. 4 is her response to Mrs. Burling's news. And then 5, the climax and resolution of this play. Obviously, as I've said previously, you need to make sure that you get your evidence. 2 quotes, hopefully, for each section, maybe more if you have them, that's up to you. And then, if you can in your planning time, little notes of explanation around it. Well, you know, why, how, what does that suggest about the character at this point? Why does it suggest that? What advice are you going to give to the actor? And then all you need to do with that plan is to write out in full sentences. And this is what it looks like. This is an extract of an A-star response. Let me read out the introduction first to you. The best advice to give an actress playing the character Sheila is that they need to demonstrate a contrast in their performance from a shielded and childish figure to a responsible, mature and forthright character. So you can see in my introduction is an overview immediately to advice to an actor, suggesting how the character appears as a whole. So you can see how similar it is to a character analysis question, but again it's marked in a way that you have to make sure you're referring to the actor here. So here's my point number 1, which is a dinner party scene. When playing Sheila during the opening dinner party scene of the play, the actress needs to remember that Sheila is an individual who is shielded from the problems of the world and is very pleased with life. So there's my point. There's me using a quotation again, showing good control and knowledge of the play. But this is my character analysis here. It's exactly how the character presented at the start of the play. This is because her family is celebrating her engagement to the wealthy Gerald Croft. Because of this, the actor should be sure to highlight her immaturity, especially when she fights for her brother Eric and says things such as "don't be an arse." The actor should remember that she is annoyed that Eric is ruining her occasion rather than noticing his problem with alcohol. Her immaturity and submissiveness should also be made evident through her use of mummy and daddy, which could be further emphasised through a childish excitement as she looks from one character to another. If portrayed in this way, Sheila will initially appear to the audience like a spoilt child who has no idea of the problems the working classes and others at the time faced. So you can see a nice clear point, evidence all the way through, but what makes it slightly different from the character essay is that I'm suggesting this information needs to be conveyed in this way, and this is why we're conveying it in this way. You'll also notice at the bottom that I've used my historical context, not to any great depth at this point, but I need to explain it in a little bit more detail as I'm going through. Okay, so let's just remind ourselves, a nice clear point, evidence all the way through. I'm detailing exactly how the character appears at this point in the play, why they appear in that way, and how that therefore means the actor or actress should physically and verbally be acting. If you do those things for your 3 to 5 points, proofread at the end, you're guaranteed an A-star. So thank you. Remember the key information I've given you. The link on this site directs you towards the Welsh Board's past paper section so you can have a go yourself. But that's it. Simple. Thank you. Well done. And I hope you enjoy your A-star.